Hi guys, it's Becky, and I wanted to do a little bit more making with the Softflex Birds of a Feather kit. This is one of their monthly kits. They do mystery design kits that they're not a subscription, but they come up with a new kit every month that includes beads and findings and a spool of their wire, and sometimes there'll be extras. But there's usually findings kit, things that allow you to make things with their kit without having to buy anything extra. Now, I did have a few extra things that I got from them to add to this kit, like I had added these strands of these check glass bird coin beads. These blue ones came in the kit, but I just added these little bone colored ones just to stretch it out, have a few more options. And I also added some of these check glass owls. These were ones that I had purchased a strand of them from Softflex and then added it to my birds because they're birds. It's a birds of a feather kit. Anyway, so I had added all of those. And these beads, like some of these beads, came from the Jesse James bead strand that's usually curated to go with the design kit. And I think some of these findings were either from the bead mix or else they were from the strand. I sorted them into my organizer, so they all got mixed together and I can't tell which was from which. Anyway, one of the things that they do is there usually is some sort of element that gives you a bit of a challenge. And the challenge this time was this branch. It's just a piece of tier cast branch in this bronze colorway. And lots of people have done really interesting and cool things with it. And I have been letting ideas for it kind of percolate in my head. Sometimes that's just what I gotta do. Sometimes I see something and I'm like, oh, I know what to make with this right away. And sometimes I'm like, will it work this way? Will it work that way? And it kind of bubbles along in the back of my brain while I'm doing other tasks until it like comes to fruition. And so I have an idea. And in order to make this idea a reality, I'm going to be using some 26 gauge wire. This is some wire that actually came in one of the other kits that they put together for TGBE for their Fall Fest kit. And it is just bare copper, so it will patina over time. It'll age and turn into more of the antique copper color after some time. So I'm going to be using that, but I'm also going to be using this owl and one of these filigree bead caps. Now this was wider. I just pinch it on the sides and squeeze it until I got it to this shape. But I wanted to have my little owl sitting in it like it was a little nest. So that's why I formed it into that shape. And when we get this onto the little pendant, the little focal that I'm going to make with it, I'll add it there at that point. But I also was going to be using some of this vintage bronze 22 gauge wire for that part to get it to where it will hang on the necklace. And then I grabbed some of these other beads to string along the sides and in between. We've got some of those the fire polish beads. We've got some pinch beads. We have some spacers and the check glass beads and some other crystal beads, and these little patinaed bead caps. And so I'm going to be doing all these. I've got a little I'm not sure if I'll be using it or not. I want to see what works and what doesn't before I decide yay or nay on all this. But I was going to just have a little 11-0 seed bead, maybe. We'll see. I haven't decided yet which way I'm going to go with this or not. For my tools, I've got some flush cutters. I have some round nose pliers, some chain nose pliers, and because I'm going to be stringing on this Softflex medium beading wire, it's the dark blue lapis, one of my favorite colors that they come up with. I am also going to be using my magical crimpers and these 2x2 crimp tubes when I do my crimping And I have not decided on, probably there will be a lobster clasp that I'll use for closure when we get there. But I want to first work on this branch and see if I can't figure out a way. See if this idea that I've had percolating in my head for a while is going to work out for me. Let me move some of these out of the way so our camera doesn't get confused and try to focus on them instead of what we're doing, like it sometimes does. And let me pull out some of this 26 gauge wire. And I don't know exactly how much wire I'm going to need, so I'm just going to cut off about 12 inches. And if I need less, I need less. If I need more, I need more. All right, but I am going to kind of bend this up so I can find the middle. I'm not going to put a sharp bend here. I'm just going to put my finger on there so that I've got a bend. And now I'm going to try to find the point on these bird feet where they connect. I'm going to put this wire through there. Because I want to attach my wire to this bird. All right, now I can start pulling it a little bit tighter to get more of a sharper bend. I'm going to cross them over each other like this. Kind of pull them separately. There we go. Now, I'm going to take this one that's behind it. I'm going to put it over the top of the bird's feet this way, going towards me while the bird is looking to the right. Then I'll take the other one and I'll put it over the bird's feet. Going behind me to the other side. So it's wrapped securely around the bird's feet and it's going on either side of it. And just going down in this direction. I'm going to just kind of set this bird right here on this branch and this line in back. I'm pinching both the bird and the branch in my fingers. I am just going to pull this up along here. I'm going to use my finger and my thumb to wrap. Let's see, I did that about 4. Let me do one more time. I like odd number wraps. Call me weird. All right, so I've got 5 wraps on that side. Let's do some wraps on the other. Again, I'm pinching the bird and the branch. Whoop. It looks like I might be too far over there. That's fine. This one might be a little bit trickier because you've got to maneuver it between the branch and the bird. All right. Like that. I'm going to want that nice and flat on the back. Cut this off on this side. I'm hoping this works. It probably will. All right. Now I'm going to use my chain nose pliers. Kind of tuck that edge under the other wraps. Tuck this edge under the other wraps a little bit. And then I'm going to give this a bit of a squish along the back, and that should help keep it from rotating. And now I've got my bird attached to my branch. There we go. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side with my other bird. And that also gives me a nice little loop here to begin attaching it to a necklace for my focal. So on the other side, I'm going to want my bird to do the same thing. And it seems like I could probably get away with like 10 inches maybe. But I feel like that 12 inches was a pretty good guesstimate for how much I was going to use. So I'm going to just do the same amount. I don't mind having a little bit of extra wire at the end of it. Just warming it up, straightening it out in my fingers like I did before. Okay. And then finding each end, following it down. Just put my finger in there so I know where the middle is. Just like the other one. Gonna get the bird's feet right there in the middle. Start getting these a little bit closer. Give that a little bit of a twist. Okay. And this one's gonna go over the top of the bird's feet and down the other side. It'll fit in there. Go. And this one will go around the other direction. And I'm going to do the same thing with this on this side. Just moving the wire a little bit with my pliers. There we go. Now I've got my bird sitting there on the edge that I want it to be on. I'm going to go ahead and start wrapping this. I did 5 wraps in the front, and it looks like maybe 5 on the other side. However many would fit, I guess. Is that 5? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. And then I'm just going to move that out of the way and pinch this again on this side. And again, it's going to be tricky maneuvering it around the tail, and especially with the way that the branch goes up like that. So I may need to go a little slowly, which is fine for wire wrapping. 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, great. Like it, I like it. Let's tuck that edge under there. Okay, so that's the first part. Now, I'm going to get my 22 gauge craft wire. I can only go through this one time. Okay. So what I'm going to need to do is make myself a wrapped loop up here at the top. Scooch back just a little bit so you can see this better. Since I'm not using the teeny tiny things where it really, really, really matters to see like everything in detail. So I'm just going to make myself a wrapped loop at the top, this wire. And I'm going to cut off a fairly sizable amount for this because I don't know how much of this it's going to take for the rest of this. I'm going to put my owl on here, starting from the head down. So my loop is coming up out of the top of my owl. And I'm going to thread my little bird's nest, my golden nest, right there, so that my owl is sitting in it. I'm going to take my little branch. I am going to wrap around the branch on the right, and then I'm going to cross it over, wrap it around on the left. Hold on, guys. All right. Now I'm going to go kind of around the owl to the other side because I want there to be a little space right there for me to tuck this end into. Like that. So I have my birds and my owl. But the loop for my birds isn't at the same level or close to the same level as the loop for my owl. So when I string it, I either need to have something that swoops down to go through there, or I'm just going to attach some beads right above my birds using some wrapped loops. I'm just grab about 4 inches of wire on either side. Okay, so let me talk you through the wrapped loop since I just went really fast on the other one. About 2 inches from the end, I'm making a little bend in my wire. And then I'm going to use my round nose pliers, squeeze that part over there, and bend it around the round nose pliers and all the way around so that it makes a loop. Now I want to attach this to my little board before I wrap it. So I swung it open with my pliers. I'm going to swing that closed again. I'm going to hold that while I just use my finger push that end around to make a little wrapped loop. There we go. That loop is a little bit messy, so I'm just going to squish my wraps a little bit to tidy them up. Cut off the end. This keeps moving around. This is a little bit awkward, but that's okay, because I think when I'm done making it, it's going to look pretty cool. At least I hope it does. And now I'm going to grab one of these kind of marbly, turquoisey beads. I think it came in the bead mix. And see how that's going to bring the level of this loop up to about the same level as this loop here. And it's fine if this loop sits a little bit higher than this one, because that will work with the curve of a necklace. All right, so I've got to figure out how I want this loop sitting. I think I want it sitting this way. Perfect. So after I get my bead in place, I grasp the wire and stick my chain nose pliers there, and then bend it over the top so that when I go to wrap, there's room right there for the wraps to fit between the loop and the bead. And again, we're going to go all the way over. Because I don't have to attach anything to it this time, I'm just going to go right into wrapping it. This whole thing is dangling from it, but that's fine. Yeah, I think that's fine. I am perfectly fine with it sitting a little bit higher because, again, curvature of the necklace. All right, I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Start a couple inches away. Wrap this loop all the way around, but stop. Swing it open. Get it on that bird. Closing it with my pliers. And then pushing it with my fingers. This is a very soft wire, so it's easy to push with your fingers. These wraps look a little bit better than the other one did. Now I'm going to put the other bead on the other side. That's going to make my little birds of a feather focal. With all of these birds. All right. I'm doing the same thing. I'm grasping above the bead, pushing it back so that there is a place for the wire wraps to go. When we get there. Now that I've got my focal figured out, I'm really glad that that worked out the way I was hoping it would. Now I need to figure out how my beads are going to go on this. I think I want these kind of white rondelles in between each of these, but I'm going to need some spacers, so I think these pinch beads will do. Maybe. You know what? Let's get some of the Softflex wire out, and I am going to string the middle first and then work my way up the sides. I'm going to end up needing one of my my bead stoppers for this, so I'm going to go and grab one of those. Yeah, we'll start from the middle, and then we'll go out. So I'm just going to pull off enough wire for a complete necklace. I'm holding it out on the mat so I can see how much I'll need. Okay. I like to put the thing back on first so it doesn't, unwind after I cut it. All right, so first thing I'm going to do is put this wire through my owl. And I think a pinch bead on either side. And then the rondelle on either side. Yeah. I think that is spaced. I think it's spaced well enough. Let me put the wire through these other two loops and see how it hangs. Because if needs be, I can add another. I think I might need to do another pinch bead on either side of the rondelle. But I'm gonna test it first with this before I add the other beads, because I might be surprised, and it might just be because it's laying flat. Actually, I love this just the way it is. Just the way it is. I think adding another pinch bead on either side will push it out too far. This is just right. All right. So let me figure out how I want these other beads to go now. I'm going to go ahead and stick my bead stopper on that end. The rest of this is stringing. I believe I would like these super sparkly guys to be in here, but I want to use the sort of bead caps on either side of them. So let's see how this looks next to there. With a couple of these fire polish and a pinch bead. everything that I pull out of there for one side, I'm going to stick over here for the other side so that I make sure that I don't run out of the beads that I'm using as I'm going. Okay. Now, these solid gold rondelles, the cylinder bead, this guy on either side. Yeah, let's do that. All right. And again, 2 of these and a pinch bead as a separator. Hmm. This one. Let's try it. If I don't like it, I can take it out. If I don't like it. I love that this pinch bead mix has like all of the different metallic colors in it. So they go really well with like a mixed metal kind of a vibe. Where I've got like my copper and my bronze and my gold all in the same place. All right, now I'm trying to decide if I want to put one of my coin beads here. One of these. Actually, maybe. Maybe I just want an abbreviated necklace. No, we're gonna add the coin beads. We'll keep going. Start with the cream colored ones. And then we'll do the turquoise ones. Don't forget the pinch bead, Becky. I almost forgot the pinch bead. And then One more. A little bit more. All right, let me see how long this is. Oh, I like that. You know, I like shorter necklaces, unless it's one of the ones that goes over my head. So I'm going to switch sides. I'm going to move my bead stopper over to this end of my strand, and I am going to string the same pattern as I have here on the other side. So I have both sides strung up. The more I look at it, the more I love my little owl guys right there. And I believe this will be long enough for me. It might not be long enough for you. That's fine. I do prefer shorter necklaces. I'm just going to grab a couple of crimp tubes so that I can attach my closures. This is just a closed jump ring. It's about a 10mm closed jump ring, and I'm going to use that instead of just making a loop like I normally do. And I've got myself a little lobster clasp here. I generally don't use a wire guardian with Softflex wire because it handles the wear a lot better than other wires. So I'm just gonna scooch that right on there without using a wire guardian. I put on my crimp tube and then the lobster clasp, and now I'm gonna fold this over and put this back through the crimp tube. I don't think it will go through the fire polish twice. No, it does not. Okay. Okay. All right, and now that I've got myself a little loop, I'm gonna grab my magical crimpers. I just don't like regular crimps, but I love the little ball that I get when I use my magical crimpers, and it's got this little concavity that folds down the edges of the crimp when you use it. So I'm going to squish it flat. Well, not really flat because there is that concavity, but it makes little corners, and then when you rotate it, you open it, rotate it, and close it. Open it, rotate it, and close it. And you just keep going around, and that squishes those corners, those sharp edges, down. So you end up with this nice smooth crimp bead. And I just, you know, when I use other crimps and I don't use the magical crimper, there's always some like rough edge that digs against my skin, and I hate that. It makes it so that I don't enjoy wearing things when I have those rough edges or things that dig against my skin. Now for the other side. Again, I don't use wire guardians when I use Softflex wire. I just find I don't need it. We're going to put on the crimp tube, string this through my closed jump ring. And often I don't even bother with a little loop on the other end. I just make a loop with the wire and have the lobster clasp attached to that. But I'm feeling fancy today, so we're going to add a little extra on there. I believe that is good enough. Just going to make sure that this moves before I crimp it. I don't know why. I couldn't say the word crimp. I almost said clamp. So I very, very nearly said climp instead of crimp. It's been that kind of day. So I'm going to do the same thing with this one. Smoosh it flat. And then rotate it to round out my edges. Boop. Alright. I am pretty happy that this little idea that I had percolating in my head for how to do this branch worked out. And I am happy with the rest of this necklace. I like it. It's all business in front. A little bit of party in back. Wait a minute. No, it's party in front, business in back. That's how it is. All right. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.